important, so important that we are using this time in our morning worship to make sure that we make these very valuable announcements. Shannon, Zach, won't you come on up? We'll occupy. Brian White from the WSCP, won't you come on up? Thank you. All right. We are organizing across the state of Michigan, working to continue on the signature campaign. So we will be going to churches all day today and for the rest of the month as we continue to organize congregations to sign petitions against the Emergency Financial Manager Bill. The Emergency Financial Manager Bill, we believe, has three characteristics that are not good for our people. One is anti-democratic. Two, it discriminates against our people. And three, it disenfranchises our votes. And so we're organizing in the city of Detroit, National Action Network, King Solomon Baptist Church, NAACP, Rainbow Push, Michigan Forward, and so many other organizations along with Occupy Detroit and Congressman John Conyers. We're organizing across the state of Michigan to make sure that we can beat this bill back. We are not going to allow dictators to come into neighborhoods and to communities and run our government. We elected our mayor. We elected our city council. We did not elect a governor to run our city. We elect the governor to run the state. Can I get a witness?
Yeah.
Amen. And so we are organizing to make sure we let Rick Snyder know, but not just Rick Snyder. We're organizing to make sure that we let the world know. That's the reason why we brought Brother Al Sharpton in, and why we have Reverend Jesse with us and working with us on this, and John Conyers. We are here to make sure we let the world know. Just like Dr. King had to let the world know about what was going on in Birmingham by marching down the streets in Birmingham, Alabama, facing dogs and water hoses. We are organizing this event to march at Rick Snyder's house on Dr. Martin Luther King Day to let the world know again that we will not stand idly by and allow him to take over our areas. We all understand that this legislation, 50% of the African American votes across the state of Michigan will be dismissed. We all understand 75% of the elected officials that are African American and represent African Americans in the state of Michigan will be dismissed. And so, if you wonder why African American wants to stand up, understand we are being disenfranchised. So I want to start this off by making sure that we get the opportunity to get an update from our congressman, who is working very hard in the state of Michigan and across the country to have Eric Holder give us some movement on this issue. And I want to introduce to you all, who all may know him, Congressman John Conyers. Yes.
To be here with you and the Right Reverend Al Sharpton and all of our civil rights leaders. And I must say, Reverend Sharpton, I like the diversity that's present here in the church this morning. Isn't that something nice? We've got people coming in to help us and join us because they're going to be affected by any emergency manager law just like everybody else. That's right. But I have done the study and communicated the following message briefly to Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, that the emergency manager law is unconstitutional in a number of respects. Number one, it abrogates contracts. There's a specific provision in the Constitution that says no state can nullify or change a contract made between citizens. This is a union busting deal. That's what it's all about, to be honest with you. Number two, the Constitution guarantees a Republican form of government in which people choose who will govern them. That's obviously blown away. Number three, both the 14th and the 15th Amendment precludes discrimination based on color. It's not accidental, I don't think you believe, that all the municipalities, school boards that are affected throughout the state are all controlled, and the majority of the citizens, overwhelming majority of the citizens, are people of color. That's discrimination, clearly. And you don't need 4 or 5 constitutional defects to have something turned back. We've got that many, but any one of them would be operative. And so I congratulate you for having us acquire the number of petitions that stops the emergency manager law. Now all we have to do is make sure we build up a cushion so that all those people that signed that weren't registered or gave the wrong address or did something, because they're going to go through that. And when I go back to Washington Tuesday morning, believe me, the first thing we're going to do is to begin to deal with this subject. The second thing I'm going to do is, with the longer range of activity, is that we need a full employment system in this country. We need to put everybody to work.
Amen.
The crisis created by the Wall Street people. We're talking about creating a full employment society where the business of the domestic government is to train everybody that wants a good job to be able to have one. Now, in the 21st century, this is not the toughest thing in the world. And I thank everybody. I'm particularly glad that Reverend Al Sharpton is here. When he started out, I was his mentor. And now, through some convolution that I can't understand, he is my mentor, and this thing is tremendous. He's come a long, long way. And to be here in King Solomon Church,
Thank you, Congressman Conyers. We're going to hear right after Reverend Sharpton. We're going to hear from the occupiers, Shannon McKelvey and Zach, and then after that, we will be taking some questions. Reverend Sharpton. Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Reverend Williams, and certainly to Congressman Conyers and to our allies that stand with us. First, let me say how happy I am to be with Reverend Williams, who's been a part of National Action Network for many years and pastors this historic church. Many years ago, when I was 13, Martin Luther King was killed. I was appointed youth director of Operation Breadbasket at that age, and I've been in the King movement ever since in the aftermath of his death. Congressman John Conyers is the one who introduced the first piece of legislation to make Dr. King's birthday a federal holiday. And many fought it, including the president that had ultimately signed it, Ronald Reagan, who had called Dr. King a communist. One of the Republican candidates today, Ron Paul, voted against the King bill and Conyers proposed. In that context, though, we won with petitions and movements like the movement that's going on in Michigan today. Tomorrow, federal buildings, state buildings will be closed because we did not give up. That did not just happen. I will be leaving after doing some churches today, Reverend Williams. I'll be in Washington tomorrow. We have a prayer breakfast there, and I'll be laying a wreath at the monument in the morning. because John Conyers and Coretta Scott King and others did not give up. So do not feel this is some meaningful, symbolic work that National Action Network and NAACP and occupiers are doing. There is a long tradition of going from petitioning to marching to empowering and changing time. The most famous speech Dr. King made, there's a line that people forget. We talked about governors' lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. I argue today, Governor Snyder's lips drip with those words. He seeks to nullify contracts the state are obligated to. He seeks to interpose his own officials over the elected officials. If you are going to deal with Dr. King's day, then deal with Dr. King said. We must fight governors that interpose the will of the people and nullify written agreements. There are those that would say that those cities are insolvent. Well, many of those cities that he's already taken were in financial trouble when they elected the officials. So they voted for the people that they wanted to deal with the economic crisis. You cannot come in and interpose your will when the people said, based on these financial realities, these are the people we want to solve it, and you decide you're going to supersede that. It is unconstitutional, it is illegal, it is biased against African Americans, and it is immoral. And we are going to support it every way we can. Just last year, we took petitions and turned around Senate Bill 5 in Ohio, a unit-busted bill that we were involved. We have not won just in the 60s. We won in 2010 in Ohio. We're going to win in 2012 in the state of Michigan. Let me also say, Reverend Williams and the coalition has said they're going to Ann Arbor tomorrow to Governor Snyder, and they're going to have a peaceful protest they worked out with police. Some have said, well, should you go to the people's homes? I remember when occupiers marched and we supported Occupy in New York when they went to billionaires' homes. I might just remind you, and I've said it must be nonviolent, must be peaceful, but I must remind you that sometimes when people are sick, and this is a sick policy, this emergency management act, sometimes when people are sick, they will go to church and get prayer, or they will go to the doctor and get help. All right. But sometimes doctors have to make house calls. Sometimes folks have sick stuff and don't know they're sick. So you make a house call. Tomorrow, this coalition is making a house call to the governor because his policy is sick. I would hope we do it in the spirit of Dr. King. I would hope that we not spend King Day as a day off, but a day on. They did not fight to get the holiday so that you could go to the mall. They fought to get the holiday so that we could do something in the spirit of Dr. King. I think Dr. King, as I said, I was just barely a teenager when he died, but I knew his wife well, worked together for years. His son and I around the same age, worked hand in hand. Congressman Conyers, who mentored all of us, who's trying to act like he's the mentee now. He knows that then we all have to be part of his re-election, which is going to happen anyhow. Not that I'm getting partisan or anything, but I am. But the fact is that they fought for this, and it's not our job to maintain it. You cannot honor Dr. King and dishonor what Dr. King stood for. Governor Snyder needs to read the I Have a Dream speech. He needs to read the part about governor's lips. He needs to read the part about nullification and interposition. I would hope those that go to make the house call tomorrow bring the speech with them to deliver to him. How can he memorialize Dr. King and then try to stop what Dr. King stood for? You can't build a monument. You can't go to a King Day celebration and then not do what King does. I would hope the media, if Snyder goes to a King celebration, ask him, how can you celebrate what a man stood for and then undermine it at the same time? Since we're in church, Jesus said, don't say Lord, Lord, and then don't do what I say. Don't tomorrow say King, King, and then undermine what Dr. King stood for. Thank you. And I will be with them all day going to churches. We're going from here to Little Rock Baptist Church and other churches getting petitions signed. And I'm glad on this weekend to be part of this coalition.
Thank you. We are preparing. One of the tactics that we're using is we're partnering up with a movement that has gone swept across not just this country but across the world, starting in Egypt. But it was the tactic of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. During the Poor People's Campaign, and they set up Tent City in Washington, D.C., which is the occupation movement. And so we have with us two of the occupiers. We want to bring in Shannon McElvey and Jack. Steve asked them to say a few words, just a couple words, and then we're going to take some questions.
So, as many of you know, I'm with Occupy Detroit. As many of you know, what the Occupy movement came up around in this country is reclaiming some of the lost influence and opportunity for the 99%. So much of that, so much opportunity and influence has gone to the 1% at the expense of the 99%, at the expense of everyday citizens. That's what the Occupy movement, on a basic level, has come up around. In this state, with Governor Snyder, what we're seeing is that the most fundamental right of an American citizen, of the 99%, that of to elect their own leadership, is being taken away and actually handed to the 1%. Which is the most, I think probably the most egregious violation of rights that we have in this country thus far, and probably in terms of the Occupy movement, one that illustrates what we're fighting against probably the best. We have, like I said, the most fundamental right we have is being handed to the governor, who is absolutely, no doubt, part of the 1%. So Occupy Detroit is behind this emergency manager repeal effort. We're very excited to be involved. It's absolutely an honor for Occupy to be involved, with these giants of the civil rights movement. And Occupy Detroit looks forward to fighting this law every step of the way. And we're definitely looking forward to participating in the march on Governor Snyder's house tomorrow as well. Thank you.
My name is Zachary Steve with Occupy Detroit and the affinity group Occupy for Democracy, focusing on how we can help improve our democracy and improve people's voices. I want to thank all the leaders here today. I think that America has to realize that we find ourselves in crisis. There's no doubt about it. Michigan is in crisis. America's in crisis. Businesses are leaving. They're downsizing. People are hurting. Education is being cut. People are fighting tooth and nail right now. And we have the governor taking away the consent of the governor from local communities and school boards and giving that absolute power to one individual. The Constitution established a credo for divided power, a legislative, an executive, a judiciary branch. This law removes that divided power. It takes away the consent of the government. This goes against what America's credo and our vision is for a dream of a better future for our children. That's what we're fighting for here today. And that's the message we have to send, not just to those communities like Superior Township or like Ann Arbor or like Canton, Michigan, but to any state in Michigan, knowing that if this precedent is set, that all but absolute dictators is not just a possibility, but it will be the reality for their future, whether it's Alabama or California or Oregon or Maine. We're fighting for America, and we're Americans trying to live the dream, trying to continue the fight of the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Amen. We have a diverse coalition here, and in this coalition, we are going to be moving to setting up occupation, or we're going to the governor's house to let him know that we don't want Public Act 4 anymore. Is there any questions? I'm gonna ask this young lady first and then let her give me that.
Can you talk about the total number of people who will be marching tomorrow that you expect? And can you give an update on the number of signatures that thus far?
There are over 170,000 signatures that have been collected. Tomorrow, we have buses that will be coming from Benton Harbor. We have buses that will be coming from Inkster, Michigan. We have buses that will be coming from Muskegon Heights. We have a bus that will be coming from Flint, Michigan. We have 10 buses that will be coming from Detroit. And so we got a large busload, a large group of folk that will be there, that will be on Gettys Glen Road. We have been working with the police. The police are rolling out the red carpet to make sure everything is safe. The roads will be shut off, and we will be marching. We'll definitely be marching in the spirit of Dr. King in peace and in the nonviolent nature. We want to reserve the rest of the questions, my sister, for the meeting. Are you meeting? All right, we want to reserve the rest of them for the meeting. All right, are there any other questions? We want to reserve the rest of our questions.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Congressman, can you talk a little bit more about an update in regards to the Attorney General and whether he's gotten back to you yet on your request for him to look at this law?
He has not, and that's what I'm going to be doing as soon as I get back to Washington, which will be Tuesday. So forgive me for not being able to be with everybody that I'd like to be. But this is the way government works. I've got 15 or 20 lawyers. He's got about 1,500. And he's having a little trouble finding out how to answer a 3-page letter. So we're going to help him.
Let me say on that Attorney General Holder spoke at our convention last year, National Network, and the President did. And we are going to join in with the Congressman and provide him with a letter from National Network asking the Attorney General to look into this. I'm going to ask my colleague, Mark Morial of National Urban League and Ben Jealous of NACP. We work together on everything to join me in that. So the entire National Civil Rights community is behind asking his review of what Congress has requested. It is that kind of petition that led to them going into South Carolina on voter ID. So I think if there's a united approach, we can get the Attorney General to review this.
We're going to have to hold you there for a second. This law appears to be the most unique in the nation. Are you concerned that perhaps other states would look to replicate this if this petition drive?
I'm not concerned, I'm assured that if Snyder gets away with it here, it will spread nationally. You must remember, we romanticized the civil rights days of the 60s. It was a state-by-state fight. It was Alabama and then Mississippi, Georgia, all of them did it. It starts with, just like Wisconsin started, Union busting, then went to Ohio and on, Indiana. This will be the beginning of governors nullifying the rights of people. It will be the beginning where they will say municipal elections don't mean anything. You can vote for who you want, but the governor will remove them if he wants to or she wants to. This precedent must be stopped in Michigan, because as go Michigan, we'll go the rest of the country if we don't stop it.
The governor's people and the state treasurer here who have put these emergency managers in place say that these particular communities have mismanaged their funds and that the state's out of business of bailing out these cities. What do you think?
First of all, the question of mismanagement does not raise the question of you therefore undermine elections. If something has been done criminally, you prosecute. If something has been done otherwise, then you deal under the law on how that is to be dealt with. But you do not take a mismanagement to use that to disqualify a democratic process. George Bush, I felt, mismanaged.
That's
We had to deal with an election to get rid of that crowd. So they cannot, in the name, who determines where mismanagement is to the level that you disqualify an election? Who makes that determination? The governor. That's a dangerous precedent to set.
right.
Where they can decide mismanagement and therefore we're going to supersede. That cannot stand.
Right behind Reverend Sharpton on that note, West Bloomfield Public Schools is in deficit. Every other city and municipality in the state of Michigan is in deficit. This is a manufactured emergency that the governor is concocting so that he can go in and take over these cities. And just like Reverend said, if we allow the governor to do this, Indiana's already looking, if we allow the governor to continue this law, keep this law in the books, Indiana legislature is already working on an emergency financial manager law. And this is what it does at its heart. It allows these Republican bureaucrats that work for the governor to go into a municipality and change the politics. A Republican could never win in Detroit. So what do? I'm going to remove the mayor. A Republican could never win in some of the urban centers across the country. And they know that. And so this is why they are using this tactic to say, look, we know we cannot win. We know we can't put up a Republican in some of these urban cities across Michigan. They've already done it across Michigan. And then across the country. So we will put our own manufactured emergency managers into these communities.
That's right.
Are there any other questions from the media?
Congressman Kynan, just have you spoken to President Obama about this emergency manager law in Michigan, and if so, what did he have to say?
No, I haven't.
Haven't?
I wouldn't do that. I'm speaking with his chief law enforcement officer, so I wouldn't try to jump over that.
And what do you want the Attorney General to do? What could he do, or is this something that might have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court kind of thing?
Well, it's going to go to court. It's already in court. But what we want to do is have him investigate the whole notion of whether there's constitutionality or not. That is a clear obligation of the Attorney General of the United States to venture an opinion on this subject. And to me, it's something that would clear it up. If everybody realized, as me and my lawyers do, that this is blatantly unconstitutional, not on one issue, but on 3 or 4, it would form public opinion where people right now that aren't even thinking about it would say, well, if the Attorney General agrees with the former chairman of the Judiciary Committee that there is a question of unconstitutionality, what are we doing? We want some action.
Let me say this also in terms of our letter to the Attorney General for the Congress. He should also look at the Attorney General whether it violates the Voting Rights Act, because it changes the way the vote has been undermined or not. And if, in fact, he finds that to be the case, as he did in South Carolina, he can, the Attorney General, in the name of the Voting Rights Act, takes action. Because he can say it undermines voting rights districts that is directly under the Voting Rights Act and under his department.
You want to be in the Department of Justice yourself.
Well, see, when I was a kid, he used to take me to the library.
All right.
We want to ask that all of the media would exit out of those 2 brown doors. The 2 brown doors, all of the media, when you get done. Our worship services are about to commence, and we're going to have Deacon Gibson come on up and get ready to get started. Reverend,
Thank you.